All right. So last time, and Twitch has already frozen, and we're not even streaming yet. That's impressive.
All right. Wow. Good job, Twitch.
I assume my bad internet has something to do with it. But anyway, last time we left you all at the campus of the Blackthorn Academy, the educational wing of the Blackthorn Circle, who are the most prominent human wizards, definitely in Queensboro, certainly in the country of Arlen, but maybe in the whole human realm right now. Very powerful, very influential. And through various leads, you all have been led to the conclusion that someone with access to Fey minions, basically, is attacking them and stealing unusual items from hidden caches of arcane knowledge and resources that they might in fact have been hiding from everyone, not just keeping them safe, but actually keeping them off the books. So last time you all split the party, which goes as well as it usually does, with Auric continuing with the tour group that had let you all into the building, the rest of you veering off to meet with Ulst Blackthorn, who is the head of the transmutation department. You actually had a very good conversation with Ulst. You met his chalk slime multiplying dog named Jelly. And he was able to sort of give you a better feel of what was happening, and especially how the Blackthorn Circle had been responding. And while that was happening, Auric had an encounter with Vela Blackthorn, who is the aggressive on many levels sub or deputy chair of the evocation department. She challenged you to a friendly evocation duel. Yes, her version of friendly. No one died.
Yeah.
And in exchange, she did not have you like thrown out for trespassing or do anything awful to you, and even offered to give you some information if you won. You did not, but you did seem to impress her.
You just said that it was an evocation duel, and I just realized I used my breath weapon. Did I break the rules?
Nah, I mean it was an evocation exhibition. It was her showing off her evocation chops. You were surviving.
Because I just double checked and I'm lawful good. So if I broke the rules, I would feel really bad.
No, she didn't clarify that, but it was part of the evocation exhibition event that was happening.
I'm less concerned about whether you broke the rules and also concerned as to, like, can you pass that off as, oh yeah, I cast the Dragon's Breath spell? Or is everybody in the stands like, wait, that was different magic?
Cone of Cold. It's a new spell from my research school that none of you are invited to.
I mean, to be honest, you were probably not the first person to breathe fire there. You were probably the first person to breathe fire in a pseudo-biological fashion, but to a casual observer. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're in weird gold-silver overlap territory.
Yes.
But to a casual observer, it wouldn't look that much different.
Okay.
Honestly, it would be someone like Vela who would notice, and you determined earlier that, yeah, she already saw through your disguise, and actually you all had all been profiled as you came through the gate. So you all were heading to the site of the unconscious Auric, who was just sort of coming back to himself in the medical tent at the evocation exhibition. And you all, I believe, had just walked in and got your first glimpse of Vela Blackthorn, who was almost immediately distracted from Auric by Zyra's really cool magical tattoos.
Which are under her jacket.
Yes.
I'll wear the jacket next time.
All right, so what do you all want to do?
So Cyrus will step up and say, well, Miss Blackthorn, it appears your family has a problem that would be best for everyone involved if it wasn't public. And I wonder if we can help you with that as people outside the family to go places and do things that you all can't.
She sort of looks thoughtful for a second and then says, I wouldn't trust just anyone, but you all do seem to know what you're doing. Yeah, I think we can come to some kind of arrangement. This needs to stop.
Yes.
It's already drawn too much attention. People have gotten hurt. And honestly, it seems like it will only escalate from here. If you all can put an end to these attacks and guarantee that they're over, she kind of does some mental math and says, I'll pay each of you 500 gold marks and a certain amount of favorable consideration from the Blackthorns. You notice that as soon as Cyrus starts talking in this vein, she's like flipped over to a different mode. As much as she's interested in all these other things, you're getting just a little glimpse of like the sort of astute, bordering on cutthroat maneuvering and political operating that lets her be at this prominent place in the family. Vela has left some very skilled competitors who were older and better connected in her dust along the way, and you kind of see why. So,
dumb question. How big around is a gold mark?
So in this case, gold mark, it's gold pieces, but they're circulated both as sort of classical gold pieces as coins. But the mark designation was added because they're also circulated as bills. And so that would be just sort of the common denomination that you would get out in the world.
Probably not saying it out loud, but I'm thinking that's a lot of coins that I could sleep on.
Nice hoard.
I was like, I know there's a reason for this.
So she nods and says, okay. So the first thing is, we don't know you and you don't know us. The second thing is, what else do you need to know to make this go away?
Well, let's see. Firstly, I feel like we do know each other because once you've tasted each other's arcane fire, you become really close.
She means pretend, honey.
Oh, out there, we don't know each other. Got it.
You definitely saw something go across her face when you said tasted arcane fire, and then she kind of like caught herself, like business mode. But after this, Auric will discover that her number is in his phone.
But secondly, we do have the beginning of a lead in the form of an arcane mark.
And a former student of yours, of the school.
Oh, a former student.
Oh, that's right. You weren't there for that part.
I was getting my ass kicked at that point.
Yeah.
This is going to be about that Blake kid, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems.
That's our best lead at the moment.
I don't know how he's operating in this sort of weight class. There's not, I don't know if the chairs of conjuration or enchantment could bind or compel as many fae as seem to be involved, but he was certainly angry enough. You can probably imagine that he did not take his failures well, and as the deputy chair, he didn't take well to hearing about them from me. Ever since that one incident, there's a very clear line in school policy that we're not supposed to use combat magic on students outside of lessons, but it might have been worth it.
That does lead me to the question, and I'm assuming the answer is no because I would have heard about it, but has anything happened to any of your collection?
Nothing of mine personally, but I'm not. She sort of gestures back to the school and says, secret towers and basement dungeon research labs are not particularly my style. I tend to do things clearly and in the open, and most of my things are within the grounds of the academy or within the Blackthorn home in the city, both of which, at least from what we've seen so far, his skills have not been capable of infiltrating.
Okay.
Speaking of hidden places, and I know this is delicate since some of what he's hit has been off the record. But I'm wondering what you can share with us about locations so that we can try to figure out where he may hit next, or if anybody in the family has been able to put together any sort of pattern of which ones he's hitting, which ones he's found.
We've been trying to figure that out for about 3 weeks now. The reality is, there's almost no way that he can know what he knows. The full extent of these caches and safeguarded resources are something that only a handful of people in the family would know. People who would have no reason to be involved in, and I have to be honest, something this stupid. It would be an entirely different conversation if he was stealing ancient artifacts and powerful grimoires of death curses or any number of strange things. Not that we have any of those, mind you, but he's wielding a bazooka to steal BB guns. It's nonsensical. There's no reason.
What is the use of the primers here at the school?
They're educational materials. There are very, very basic texts that all students receive, and then access to more advanced, because it's essentially spell books directly. And so the spell books are apportioned out as both educational tools and as rewards. So students are not allowed to just go and pull any spell they would like to learn. It's part of how we incentivize the most skilled and ambitious students to excel. The things he's stealing are things that, to be honest, they're things that he would have received in coursework if he had simply been able to succeed in it.
Mhm. This may, I feel like I'm prefacing everything by saying this might be stupid. But I'm wondering, I mean, you have a good idea of all the things that have been taken, and you describe them as being a bunch of BB guns being stolen by a bazooka wielder. Back where I come from, there's a story that the parents like to tell the children about a group of people who had lion constructs that could all merge together to become a very large construct person. So I guess what I'm asking is there any synergy perhaps that we're not taking into consideration?
We've had the best minds of human wizardry. I mean, I might be, there might be some conceited self-interest here, but some of the best minds in human wizardry in the world going over these lists. If there is something like that, it's beyond what we can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't find it likely though. And to be honest, Blake was very skilled in certain kinds of magic. He was not a grand schemer.
Okay.
He was impatient. He was arrogant. And believe me, in this family, for someone to register above the general background level of arrogant is impressive. And certainly for someone with as little power as he had.
So you've talked a lot about the human wizardry, but all of the individuals that we encountered that were branded with the sigil, that were under Blake's power, were Fae. Have you talked? Do you have any connections with the Fae and have discussed that? Because maybe there's something that the Fae, maybe Blake himself is a tool.
Make a persuasion check.
Yeah, sure. Persuasion check? Sure. I think it's a 16. No, 17.
It's a good roll, and honestly, she's predisposed to like you.
It's a beautiful tattoo.
She kind of makes there's a sort of skeptical face, and she says, with all due respect to the wonderful Auric here, the Blackthorn Circle doesn't make a habit of trusting the Fae. I caught you on the tour. I assume you heard some of it. The first Blackthorn was no friend of the Fae. He built his legacy and his power defending the human realm from horrible atrocities and acts of inhuman violence. We maintain appearances, but we are not so quick to show all of our cards to, certainly not to the official Fae institutions. there are many of them who would be thrilled to have an embarrassed and disempowered Blackthorn Circle, an obstacle removed from whatever their aims are for the city and for the human realm.
So fair. So, but the question remains, Blake may be a tool in and of himself. And so I don't know if some of our seeking, so if the things that are being stolen are primers and you need to complete the primers in order to advance, are the primers here at school in danger, and you would risk having your students here not be able to advance in their studies?
Unless Blake has something far more powerful than what he's shown thus far, I have no concern for any of the central Blackthorn properties. To be quite honest, we allowed your group to enter, knowing full well that Auric was not what he appeared. Not to share too many secrets, but you were allowed to enter and you were allowed to continue existing once you entered. It is not something we would have extended to an attacking or invading force.
Is there anyone else in the human wizarding world who benefits from the Blackthorns being distracted, being embroiled in a scandal?
Oh, of course. We've not made much of a secret of wanting to be the primary presence in human wizardry. And to be honest, we've done a very good job of it so far. There's lots of groups and organizations that would certainly applaud removing us from the table. That being said, this is stupid. I agree with you. I find it quite likely that Blake is a tool in every sense of the word. The divide that I see is that his aims are very much in line with his own personal obsessions. His power is not. This was not something he could do. He was very skilled. He could change the nature of things. He could manipulate people's minds and emotions. But this scale of power to control dozens, even hundreds of Fae at a time, that definitely speaks of some other influence, but who would specifically benefit, I don't know.
Are there books in the library that would imbue this power?
We certainly wouldn't have them where the students could get them. But as best I know, the kind of magic that he has shown, the ability to command that many Fae at once, it's hard to imagine how a human wizard would accomplish that. Even from just a purely theoretical standpoint, it's not just power, but control and precision, and it almost feels like a different sort of magic.
Cyrus will pull out his phone and open up that student picture of his tattoo and something like this.
Well, that is indeed new. She's looking at it closely.
Is it the thing with the sigil? that we've
Yes.
sketched? Okay.
And she actually like reaches up and like tweaks the picture slightly and focuses on the table and says, "Oh, that is definitely not one of ours. That's a tome of Fey magic.
Hmm.
There are almost none. I mean, there's almost none in existence that I know of, but there's certainly almost non-existent in the human realm. If they had been floating around, to be honest, we would have procured them by now. But generally, the Fae don't have much time for wizardry. It's not in their nature. They are generally natural sorcerers and enchanters, and they wield magic by force of personality, not by rote study and arcane equation.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed. Who does personality?
Fey magic.
Okay, sorry.
There's very few Fey wizards. It's just not their worldview doesn't lend itself to that. They tend to be who they are as fully as they can without much sense of the Fae are fickle, but most of them don't change very much. The idea of not being able to use magic and then being able to use magic, that pursuing that sort of change would be unusual.
Yes.
And just as a reminder, you did get Ulse. Ulse printed you off. This is me, not Bela, because she wouldn't know this. You do have some personal info on Blake from his student profile that you received from Ulst and his very old noisy printer, including his last address off campus.
Right.
Well, I think we might follow up on Blake. Your best way for us to contact you.
She sort of smirks and says, "Let me see your phone." She puts her number in there.
That works. Thank you.
Since Arik doesn't yet know what's in it.
Who is Sweet Baby?
3 buttons and it's in the group chat. So yeah.
Oh man.
And I ping her and here, I flashed you. Now you have mine too.
She kind of gives like a small smirk and nods. I wish this was under better circumstances. Maybe when an army of mind-controlled Fae aren't knocking on the doors, I will see you all again.
Sounds lovely. Talk about any tattoos you have.
That same smirk as when she put it in the phone, like, I gotta stop doing facial gestures over Zoom. It's not, never works.
I suppose one last thing, unless anybody else has anything else. It would be too serendipitous to assume that a book like Blake's book is in this library here. But could we perhaps see an example of the kind of books that are being taken?
Yeah. She doesn't even hesitate. She just like literally like flips open the curtains that have been dividing you from the rest of the infirmary, and without asking, just like walks over to one of the students who are sitting there and is like, hand me your backpack. And the kid's like, and she just like pulls it out, and it's like these are actually like modern printed. They're not like ancient leather bound tomes of vellum, and no, this is like they ran this off in an in-house printing press. And she says that again, I'm embarrassed by how stupid this all is. This is what he is taking. And she thinks about it for a second and looks at the kid and says, "You saw nothing." And the kid's like,
Yes, ma'am.
he's definitely got like a broken arm and a splint, and just like is gone. Again,
Sounds like my dad's classroom management. You saw nothing.
Yeah, it's books like this. Whatever he has, that's something else entirely. And just for grins and giggles, I miss the old Streetwise skill. That was an older edition, and Pathfinder has like knowledge local. So I guess I'll have y'all make a history check.
Oh.
I know.
15.
All right. And actually, I'll go ahead and give Auric advantage on this roll.
14. I might accidentally roll multiple times. We're
Still 15.
we're thinking about our life choices here on the computer. You know, I guess I could roll a d20 like a normal person. Oh, so that's an 8.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a -1. I know. It's all right. It's an old computer. I have a new computer now. I just haven't bothered to do anything with it.
I mean, this is another case where the dice just make sense. Like if I was to like guess which of you would know this,
It would not be Lexi.
well, and you would have no reason. So
Exactly.
so what did Cyrus get? Oh, yep. You would know this. So I don't know why you don't know this. You've had a long day.
Okay, so I rolled
Your brain just
not one, not good.
not to.
So Auric, you've done your best to stay away from too much of the official Fae apparatus here in town. But you do have an idea of where you might interact with some people if you wanted to. Both you and Zyra would just kind of know from like talk around town. The deputy ambassador from the Fae generally has a reputation as a very competent and she's more the hands-on person in that office. And that's the Lady Bryn. And she's not quite as public as her sort of direct supervisor, who is Ambassador Llewellyn. But she's famous enough to sort of show up in some magazines, you know, newspaper articles, popping up in like the back of a video clip of like him getting interviewed. She seems very competent and is also fairly high ranked. She's a Fey noble herself and could potentially tell you something. She has an assistant slash bodyguard slash fixer named Leon, who appropriately enough is a large Leonin Fey, who, if you wanted to stay a little more off the books, he would be someone who could potentially tell you something. He might not know as much about a noble signet as she would, but he's also less likely to feel like he has to report you or something if something goes bad. Yeah. You would also both know that there are some friendly Fae in Little Sylvain, some of whom might be familiar. Because again, mostly you flash this symbol to human wizards who are able to figure out sort of the arcane significance, but a lot of the history and culture of it is lost on them. I mean, it's almost a little bit like medieval heraldry. If you know what you're looking for, you can actually read a lot of information out of it, but to them, it just reads as like an arcane equation. They don't understand like what the poetry of this is or why this rune curves in this way and interweaves and blah, blah, blah.
I should have paid more attention in the rune lessons.
All right. So what's next?
So I feel like once again, we have a high risk, high reward versus low risk, low reward. We could go see Lady Bryn, but well, it'll be a high risk for me, but not for the rest of you.
Could also just go to Blake's address.
Oh, that's right. You do have an address.
Yeah.
And you all do recognize, because several of you are very familiar with different parts of the city, it does look like it's on the nicer end of Falmouth. So it's student housing almost. It's where a lot of like college students live, lower income families. It's not a fancy part of town, but it's also not like a crime riddled, dangerous place to go.
The tour stopped there for lunch.
They would probably have some good, like, not the kind of restaurant that has a, how do I put it? It's not fancy enough to have like a hipster following, but it's just like really good, like corner restaurant food. There'd be a few of those places.
Fantastic shawarma.
Yeah.
Places that are good for feeding college students.
Yes.
Yeah.
The kind that give you a lot of leftovers and more than you can eat one sitting.
Maybe more than you can eat.
Well, that's
He says to Lexi, who is 7 feet tall.
maybe more than the person playing Lexi can eat, but we're not really sure about Lexi yet. Because we've only seen her snack on garlic fries. We have not seen her sit down for a meal.
All right. Let's see. Did anybody? Oh, wait, we drove. We don't need to take the bus.
Yep. You got Pokey.
Come on, we got Pokey. Take another ride with Pokey.
So Vela says, good luck and stay safe and let me know what develops. If the quieter you can keep this, the more gratitude you'll receive from the Blackthorn family.
Understood.
It's been a pleasure.
She gives you all sort of one last smile and then just kind of heads out, realizing like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something. whips her like fancy robe up and over her shoulder and just strides out.
I like her. When I power her up, I'm gonna duel her again.
Is that how dragons flirt?
What's flirting?
Duel. Yes, duel. Mhm.
Tasting each other's fire. All right, so you have some potential avenues to follow up if you wanted to know more about maybe the specifics of the Fey signet that you found. You also have the option to go directly to Blake's last known address and see if you turn up anything there. Or you could do something totally off the wall that I haven't thought of yet, but you all might have.
We're gonna go spelunking in the caves next county over.
Just because we can.
All right, everyone make the dex check.
I mean, if y'all have an address, I'm content to take that lead.
Let's do a drive-by at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not that kind of drive-by.
Shotgun.
No,
You
not
don't
that
even-
kind of drive-by.
Very drive-by. It's
was
just like
just thinking of
scorching
the time
rays
that
out
we
the
actually-
window.
I was just thinking of the time over Thanksgiving one year when I was a teen, sneaking out with my cousins of their house and doing a drive-by, literally, just to see what crime was happening.
I don't think you mean literally.
Maybe we weren't shooting. We were just nosy.
All right. Before Rachel confesses to any more violent crimes,
That's a murder.
so you all make your way out. The festivities are kind of winding down a bit. You can tell it's very much geared towards, especially like students and families. And so you see a lot of like little elementary students being shepherded back to buses that pull up in front of the gate and start taking them back to town. So you have to kind of do one of those, like, you know, trying not to step on the little people. But you make your way back out. This time, because you're aware of it, you definitely clock a couple of the guards like looking at you all specifically. You wave, one of them just goes. But you are not accosted or hindered in any way, and you make your way back. Traffic is a little ridiculous. It's not a super, like, it's a 2-lane road. Like, I mean one lane either direction.
Right. That's a plan.
So there's a lot of traffic, more than this road was meant for. So it's a little bit of an effort to get back. But you're not that far out of town. So you're probably back by afternoonish, because this was sort of a morning affair. So do you want to go directly to Blake's last known address?
Yeah.
We swing through a drive-through to get lunch, but yes.
Or do we? Are you paying?
McDonald's.
Are you ordering a Happy Meal then?
I'm very happy.
So
Or a
you
quick
all
order?
make it back pretty easily. From the outside, at least, there doesn't seem to be anything too impressive about the last known apartment of Alan Blake. It's probably a 10+ story apartment building. It's definitely a lot of people stacked on top of each other. And again, you do see a lot of like younger families, college students, all kind of mingled together. You do pass some of those aforementioned restaurants, and nothing immediately strikes you. The address that you got was for like the 7th floor. Is there anything you all want to do in particular as you drive by?
there's enough people. Why don't we stop? Are there any middle school age children playing outside?
Make a perception check.
Reworking.
High, ridiculous high.
All right, we're actually working, but I rolled a 3, so. I'm focused on the road. I'm not focused on children. I really only rolled this because I wanted to make sure that my computer would let me.
I was gonna say, I think Lexi is definitely like, this is your parking proficiency check. Like, this is definitely a like parallel park on the street. It's rare to find a spot. When you find one, you got to get in it. So
I can
Zyra,
park without the rear view camera.
Zyra, you're kind of scanning the crowd. There's not a ton of kids out here. It's still kind of mid-school day. You do spot like one or two out of mostly what you're seeing are the college students coming and going at weird hours. And you also see what looks like maybe some parents who, like you would guess parents, adults who maybe came back for lunch and are leaving again, going back to some place of work or business.
I want to find someone who looks like they have a little more time than the average in the crowd.
So you spot a couple of college students who look like they are going back, like coming back from class and not going out. You also see a middle-aged woman in sort of like business casual, who also seems to be heading back towards her apartment.
I'm gonna approach the woman.
All right.
Yeah. How old was Blake? Was he also?
Blake is sort of college age. He's late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna ask the college students.
Okay. You immediately recognize that they're both wearing Ravensbrück colors. Okay. It's like the sort of bland campus, sweatshirts. Still pretty cool out here. And you see them kind of like maybe they're waiting for someone, or they're kind of like playing around on their phones. And you walk up, and what do you say?
Excuse me, I'm looking for a student who I think might have been at school at Ravensbrück, with who was at this address. Do you recognize this person? And I show an image from like social media.
One of them looks at the other and is like, kind of looks real close. Oh, yeah, that's the he looks at his friend. Yeah, that's the weird kid. Yeah, the one who dropped out to go to magic school.
That one. Wait, don't they also go to magic school?
No. Ravensbrück is the school you teach at.
That's right. Sorry,
No worries. This is what we get for playing at like 9 o'clock Eastern. Like,
we're good. Right. Had you seen him around here? This is an address I had for him.
Yeah.
Do you know if you've seen him any time in the last couple weeks?
I think about it. Yeah, actually, we hadn't seen him for a while. And then he looks like unwell, like I've seen people on like, like finals benders, and I've seen people on like spring break benders, and this wasn't either of them. This was like, go get yourself checked out, man. Like, ugh. He looks like patchy, like blotchy.
Mm.
Ugh.
Yeah. Thank you.
We've got his like and like we've got his like full like apartment number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just yeah.
For the purposes of this, we'll say his apartment number is 7113.
Okay.
Cool. I want to go up.
All right. Yeah.
What weird idea did you just have?
Part of me wants to be a big troll, and as we walk past the college students, we're like, wait, aren't they your students? I'm not gonna, but
Recognize me.
One of them is kind of giving you like a, they're not saying it, but it's like a, don't I know you from somewhere?
It's like kids when they don't expect to see their teachers anywhere besides school.
Yeah.
They don't have a life outside of the classroom.
Yeah, I would think that your level of sort of fame on campus, you're probably very well known amongst what in this world would be like the NPR crowd. Like that's very much your vibe. So a lot of professors, even in other departments, among students, not as consistent. Like math students have no idea who you are, but like an English student might be like, although it's probably not English, I really need to work on my world building.
Language arts.
The common students are probably like, they've probably heard you give a lecture or read something of yours, and you get the feeling maybe this undergrad here like sat in on a class or something. There's like a little bit of familiarity. But they're not going to push it because they're not at school and they don't want to,
They don't want to associate.
Yeah, it's like, could this turn into more homework? I'm not going to risk it.
That's how college students think.
So it looks like the front door is supposed to like shut and lock and you have to be buzzed in, but it also looks like the mechanism is either broken or has been propped, as college students are wont to do. Maybe I'm projecting. We broke all of our doors, so we didn't have to have keys.
Ours were very secure.
Ours
We
were
propped
not.
all of ours.
I lived
We
in a
were
brand new dorm.
Yeah.
It had one of the first access cards I ever used.
Okay. Yeah.
There was definitely some gender disparity there because several of the women's dorms had early like card readers, and ours were like, we had a door we called the Bat Cave that we would like systematically undo the lock mechanisms, and they would fix them every so often, and we'd go back and undo it again. It's lucky we weren't all murdered.
We had a FedEx truck back in the freshman boys dorm.
Cool.
It rolled down a hill because its brake failed. And it fell down because we're on the college hill, and it was suspended over a 10-foot wide, 10-foot deep chasm because it was where the windows were. So it was nutted up against the second floor of the dorms, and it was one of the funniest things watching numerous men come, look, and just stare at it with their hands on their hips for the afternoon. Trying,
like, how do we fix this?
How to move a FedEx truck.
Can you just imagine what that would look like from the inside? Like you think you're safe and secure in your second story dorm room, and then a vehicle smashes into the wall.
technically didn't hit a window, but I'm not really sure. So
I mean, that would be the perfect cartoon moment. Like someone's just studying, like maybe one person's got headphones on and the other studying and looks up and is like, the headphones person finally looks up and is like, what? FedEx logo coming at them. Anyway, the door is propped. It's not nice, but it is clean and well kept. There's elevator and there's elevators, and then you see signs for stairs that point to like either end. How do you want to go up?
Elevator.
Yeah.
All right.
Ding. Oh God, it probably smells awful, doesn't it?
There's a little bit of weed smell. Gonna be honest.
Now it smells like roses.
Oh,
I was gonna say, considering that I run a bar, I should not have any problems with an elevator smelling like spilt booze and
I just like give him a slant and how about
other.
I mean, again,
lemons, citrus, limes, oranges.
I feel like Lexi's crowd is not even a ton of spilled beer, but some spilled beer. Probably not the weed crowd. That doesn't seem like your clientele.
No.
Although I also kind of want now a wizard or sorcerer whose prestidigitation somatic gesture is like, the sprinkle
Salt
meme guy. Yeah, just
Yep.
So it heads on up. You're the only people in the elevator.
Cool.
And it spits you out. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to shift, since we're alone, I'm going to shift the trench coat into something that looks Ravensbrook University maintenance
Staff.
apartment super style outfit.
So something in like the jumpsuit family. All right. I feel like the coat maybe protests just a little bit. Like it's been okay with everything up to this point.
It's insulted.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like, really? Like I am an artifact.
This is how you treat me?
And you're making me be a gray romper. Like, okay, fine.
I do this under protest.
It's almost a little sulky, like the legs don't go quite all the way down, and you've got about this much like exposed ankle. We've now established canon that your coat is sentient.
I know, like now I want to explain things to it, and I'm like, I don't think it can like hear me. So
it's canon now. All right. I don't know what you all are anticipating, but it just spits you out on a normal looking floor. You don't see anyone coming and going, but it is like 2:00 in the afternoon. You're sort of post lunch, sort of pre end of day. The apartment is a good distance down. It looks like maybe it's on like an exterior wall closer to where the stairs come up. Make a perception check, everybody.
Oh dear.
That's 12.
That's a 5.
12.
15.
I got really distracted by the jumpsuit and the 3 inches.
Well, and I also like to think that the chat argument back and forth is happening out loud. Like this is like you're arguing over what it should smell like, and it makes you miss. Cyrus, you do catch. It's a little quiet. Like it's not like a big blaring, like glaring thing that you notice, but it's just like normally you'd be like hearing people's TVs and there would be like maybe somebody moving upstairs and like it's just a little too quiet.
I'm gonna cast Detect Magic.
All right. How far away are you from 7113?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it going as soon as we step off the elevator.
All right. So you've got a pretty good distance to catch it. Something strange is going on with that apartment. Make an Arcana check.
All of us?
Just him, because it's a detect magic visible phenomenon.
Shrunk it. 17.
All right. You're not like a dedicated spellcaster, but you've got a little bit of chops. It's overwhelming whatever's going on there. There are layers of enchantments that are stacked over each other to the point where it's a little hard to separate what all of them are doing. Some of them look like just like a basic alarm spell. You also see some things that are maybe more defensive in nature, but they're not like hard walls. They're more of like the enchantment family, things to like turn people away, to confuse them, to stop them from wanting to come in. Behind that, you have no idea what's going on. There's like weird kaleidoscopic, multicolored, non-traditional magic energy just like all over the place. You're not sure if it's an active spell or if you're catching the residue of things that have happened there, but there is a powerful magical aura, a dent in the fabric of magic around this place.
Can I get within 30 feet of the door without landing inside any of these layers?
Yeah, and it's actually very tightly contained as far as the spell work goes. Like the alarm spell that you see is basically a doormat. Like it covers a rectangular prism approximately the shape of the door frame, like extending out slightly. So it would go off right when someone stepped there. The defensive wards seem to be just sort of across the door itself. And that energy doesn't seem to be sort of permeating out beyond the room. It doesn't look like it's something seeping through the whole floor. So you should be able to approach basically up to the door, but not like into the doorway before anything weird happens.
Okay. I can open the door from back off.
Mm-hmm.
We want to take a look inside. There's a lot of... Somebody is trying very hard not to be noticed and then doing something else that I don't know what it is.
Gotcha.
All right. So are you gonna mage hand the door?
Yep.
Oh, I wanted to mage hand the door.
To be fair, it is one of his like primary subclass features. And it becomes relevant because when you reach for the door, you do feel the alarm spell trigger. It catches something as you sort of prod at it. You also realize the door is locked. Not like arcane lock, just like locked.
Normal.
Yeah.
Can a mage hand open a lock like that?
Mine can.
Yeah. Arcane Trickster can. So make a thieves tools check.
Don't forget to announce that your maintenance first before using your master key to key in.
Oh, and I guess it'd be thieves tools plus dexterity.
If it fails, I have knock.
Okay.
Or I can give you bardic inspiration.
Wait, so it's these tools.
So if you're proficient, so it'd be proficiency plus dexterity,
Okay, yeah.
unless you have expertise.
I do not in these tools, so I got a 13.
All right. It's just like a normal lock. It just and it comes open. So the door swings open and everybody make a perception check.
Oh, hey, 18.
5.
8.
So
Lexi sees all.
yeah, Lexi, you kind of feel like your hackles go up a little bit. You can hear something. There are voices coming from inside the apartment. And with a fairly good roll, you catch that there are multiple voices, and you gather they're unusual voices. They don't just sound like a couple of like college students hanging out.
Right.
So I guess first, do you tell us that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll share that information.
Unusual how? They're not human or they're angry?
The pitches seem higher and lower than you would expect.
Yeah, I was going to say unusual and like less human sounding was going to be my guess.
Mort?
Not anymore.
But since you do think of that, there is a little bit of some of that quality of sound, like not exactly the same, but like vocal cords that are smaller than human sized. If you weren't cued by sort of the circumstances, you might be inclined to think like child, but in context, your brain says smaller than humanoid fae.
Yeah.
So what do y'all want to do?
Well, are the magic traps still on the doorway?
So the alarm spell did already trigger. You hear, well, so you didn't actually hear that go off. You just sort of gather that it's happening somewhere. The spell of the sort of dissuading spell that was on the door seems to have been like it flared when the door came open and then has sort of dissipated.
Okay. What about the swirly?
That seems to be the same. If you get closer, you might be able to identify more clearly what you're looking at. But it seems to be powerful in multiple schools of magic. But it's a little bit hard to tell if it's, again, like a permanent enchantment, a spell in progress, or it's just sort of the echo of a very powerful piece of magic.
Okay.
I play very fast and loose with detect magic. It doesn't actually do most of these things, but It's very like specific. It's like School of Magic and power level. That's it.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll head up. I'll head up towards the door to see if I can get a better read on that, and then see if I can make out any more of the conversation.
All right. Are you snecking?
Yeah, might as well.
All right.
Yeah, 24 sneak.
Cool. Yeah, you do just fine. You're basically able to like get all the way up to the door without apparently being noticed. You're close enough now that you can just hear it's hard to tell exactly how many voices you're hearing, but there do seem to be two distinct kinds of voices. There's one that's very low. And again, like a weirdly, probably not human range. And it's sort of a bass grumble, like, and then you hear a very weird mix of like a high, like, but there's a wet quality to it. Like there's more phlegm in it than you would anticipate. It's similar, but not exactly the same as the Pixie and Sprite voices you heard earlier. Okay. Spear.
And can I get any clearer read on this magic effect?
So you pick out 3 very strong interwoven schools of magic. There is an incredibly powerful conjuration magic. Something is like that, like to the level of punching a hole through planes, like that caliber of magic. That's the most overwhelming part of it. But almost underneath, there's a weird layer of, you probably wouldn't have been able to identify this, except that like you have some mastery of it yourself. You catch a layer of like alteration magic, transmutation, like magic of physical bodily change. And then almost a sort of haze. It actually makes you think of the weed smell in the elevator. There's sort of a haze of enchantment magic that just sort of wafts through the room. Being this close, you can tell that the conjuration magic and the transmutation magic are older. These are the sort of after images of a very powerful spell that was done, or multiple spells. The enchantment magic seems like it might actually be still in effect, whatever it is.
Okay.
All right, what y'all doing?
Does it seem safe to go in?
I'm gonna poke Auric. Go join him.
Okay.
I'm just a teacher. I tell stories.
There you go. I'll give the group a like. I think it's safe. Thumbs up.
Okay.
I'm a mediator.
Are you going in?
Are you going in?
All right. So you're kind of poking your head around and looking into the room now.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small apartment. It's like one notch up from a studio, basically. You seem to have poked your head into a living room type area where you see like a couch, a chair, a little TV stand, several like low bookshelves, because there's a window up above them. And it backs directly into like a little dining table, but very small. You actually pick up an immediate, slight maybe sense of sympathy, because it is a very small table with one chair. This was not someone who entertained. And then there's an older kitchen in the back, not updated. You see two doors on the left side. You would guess that one that is shut might be a bathroom. And there's another one with the door open. And process of elimination, you think it might be a bedroom. What you also notice are several beings moving around in the space. And they're not like trashing the place, but they're behaving unusually. And you see two of these little gray, almost like if if you built a squat human child out of a gray black goopy liquid, almost like maybe like a car oil kind of vibe, but without the sheen, just like a goopy black.
That's what I was thinking.
So it's Hectus.
What?
Hectus? Or whatever from Ferngully? Hexus.
In miniature, very, very, very tiny.
Yeah, I mean, Hexus was miniature first. Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of the big thing. I haven't watched that in a super long time.
Watched it. It was on Netflix. I
Ah,
watched it with kids. It's been a while. Is the television on?
the television does not seem to be on. And the creatures are kind of like despondent, might be the word. They're just kind of like looking around. They just kind of casually like are walking through the space. You see one of them like reach up and grab the edge of the counter and then sort of like scramble up and then just kind of like stand there and look around, opening cabinets. But they don't seem, they're not like searching for anything. It's almost like make an insight check.
Ooh.
Just him or everyone?
Who all is poking into the room?
Well, Zara pushed me forward, so I guess I am.
Okay. So we might also need stealth checks.
Well, the stealth was
Oh.
that might be
Boy,
influencing
all right.
my course of action.
Oh, all right.
So wait, what was your total?
The insight was a 17 and stealth was a 3.
So
Yeah.
what are,
Keen insight.
You initially had a 24 stealth, so
Yeah, I had a 13.
Yeah.
But I think he's looking, if you're coming up, I think he's looking for a stealth check. from
Okay.
you.
Yeah, we're now in group check territory.
Here. That might end up being a 10. Hold on. Yep, it's a 10 stealth.
All right. So
And a 13 insight.
Lexi's staying at the back.
so there's a little bit of like a almost maybe a Scooby-Doo-ish moment that happens here of like Cyrus is a shadow, just like stealthily like pokes his head around the door, but then Zyra's head pokes up around the door, and then Oryx's head, and everyone's kind of looking in, and then you literally like push Oryx forward, and he boom. And so resolving the insight check first, you get the impression of like someone who has been asked to wait in a space but doesn't have anything to do. And like feel some accountability for the space, not like they're not like tearing open cabinets and like rooting around, but just sort of that casual like nosy person visiting someone's house and like seeing what's in the cabinets, like it's like
I will very quickly take off my ring of seeming and try to imitate that mood of I'm supposed to be here and I have nothing to do.
All right. So Zyra and Auric make some unfortunate noise as they enter. You gather this vibe. Ring of seeming pops up. Dragon face. You immediately see the two creatures. One is now like up on the counter, and it like ducks its head under the cabinet to like look at you all, and another one is just standing there and turns like. And now you hear the deeper voice, and a figure that almost looks like a caricature of a dwarf. Not a people group, a like fantasy dwarf, but even like smaller and squatter, big like white bushy beard dangling. But you notice that he's wearing like a pointed red cap that goes up to about here, and there are disturbing red streaks running through the beard.
Like bright red and wet ones?
Kind of a dark red. It's a little hard to tell how recent it is at this distance. Lots of checks to make. So we'll save the deception check for a second. If you would like, make an Arcana check. We'll say Arcana.
Oh God, natural 1, 3.
Oof.
Auric gets a 19.
I got 18.
All right. So
Failing since I walked indoors.
Cyrus, you probably have heard stories of these things. Auric, you've probably encountered some of these. They're Seelie, but they are almost hands down the meanest part of Seelie. This is a red cap. They are the bloody, brutal, low grade enforcers. Like if you really need to deal with a problem, you send in like fairy knights. But if you just need to rough somebody up, you send in a red cap. Especially if you don't care if they live or die. You guess pretty easily that might very well be blood in that beard. Not in like a vampire like drinking kind of dribble, but the look of someone who has perpetrated violence and not cleaned up afterwards. The smaller creatures, you don't quite put a specific name to. There's a lot of very small fae. The smallest fae are kind of like the insects of that hierarchy. They're just like infinitely diverse. And there's lots that are very, very similar. So make a deception check, Oric.
Here we go. Oh boy, a 10.
Ooh, this is going to be tricky. So
I stand up and I look at the red cap and I go, "Hey, Phil."
So
Better hope most red caps are named Phil.
now that you can hear it more clearly, the language they're speaking is a very accented Sylvan.
I recognize that.
And
Don't speak Sylvan, that's right.
we should probably add Sylvan. That feels fair. I'm using it as sort of like Fey common.
Okay.
And so like you would know Sylvan. I don't feel out of bounds doing that.
Okay.
I know Sylvan.
Like Elvish is posh Fey speak, but yeah, you would know Sylvan. And so you catch him.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Everybody knows.
Yeah. So the whole party knows. So all 30 humans know Sylvan, but up until this point, the Dragonborn didn't.
I was
just like
sheltered.
a bolt of inspiration.
Oh,
We'll say it takes you a second because his accent is very thick. It actually strikes you as the Sylvan equivalent of going back to my list of names. It actually strikes you a little bit like Craig's voice. Like this voice is to Sylvan as Craig's voice is to common. And so you kind of hear the red cap go, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
I was told to sit and wait.
What are they doing here?
They were told to sit and wait.
Better off saying you just didn't straight up know.
I wondered if you were going to throw him under the bus. I'm going to see
know
what his insight check is like.
I'm not with them.
I mean, Cyrus is dressed as a maintenance worker, so
Fantastic. He got a 5. He sort of looks for a minute like, okay. And then just goes back to kind of like milling around.
That's how you read a language.
So what do you all want to do?
Do none of you know how to turn on the television?
What's televisor?
Oh. Well, it's a box where stories sit.
And now you hear the little creatures like, stories? We like stories. What about stories? Huh? And you actually see as they're moving around, they fade after a second, but each footprint leaves like an oily mark behind as they're moving around the room.
Bedroom.
You want to check the bedroom?
Yep.
The very first thing you notice is there's another one of these creatures, and it's just kind of like limply sitting on the bed, like, hey.
Been here long?
I think so. It's been a while.
Why'd you come?
You see him get a little confused when you ask that. I he said we had to be here. The human the not human, but it has a 6 intelligence. It's
trying its hardest.
You with detect magic on, so with detect magic on, you definitely see the brands because the brands like light up basically with detect magic going. And you gather that having a 6 intelligence and being put under very powerful compulsion magic does not lend itself to astute thought and recollection. So the TV kicks on, and in almost a chorus, you hear the little voices be like, "Ooh," and then one really deep, "Oh," and they kind of just like slowly walk forward, just staring. So what's on the TV as it comes on? What's on the TV as it comes on?
Oh, that's a great question.
It is 3 p.m.
Cartoons.
Yeah, I was gonna say hopefully something cartoons.
All right. Yeah, this is
Evans was cartoons.
this is like
news.
It's not even like new cartoons. This is like classic cartoons. This is like the Boomerang block. And you just see like, cartoon depictions of people chasing each other with mallets, and there's like a nice orchestral score. And you see a large anthropomorphic dog hits a large anthropomorphic cat with a hammer, and the big one just goes and they just like very slow lethargic children kind of like sit up onto the couch, and like their legs don't extend over, so they're just like out with their feet like this, and they're just now staring enraptured at the TV.
I'm going to just point to the back of my neck and just share with the group next. Is there anything else? Do I see anything else in the bedroom besides this?
So you do see several other things kind of scattered around the room. The creatures were just sort of first interest. Make an investigation check. We'll quantify what you find.
God, 8.
You find several things that underline information you already had.
Can I have my passive?
Well, someone else could search too if y'all are looking around.
Oh yeah, no, I'll look.
What we do? Investigation?
What did
Yeah, I probably just wandered in. Oh, well, that was useless.
13?
And what did Oric get?
Oh, Oric was sitting on the couch. Oric got a 7 because he's distracted by the TV too.
All right. Yeah, I think the combination, there's a lot of ambient magic in the room. There are 4 unusual creatures milling around, not presenting immediate violence, but you've been attacked in a very similar situation to this very recently. So you're trying to like check the room, but not look like you're checking the room, and it makes it a little hard. You do see what looks like several of those low bookshelves, and you see what looks like a gen ed shelf, basically. And then you see those are all kind of in a section together and like shoved into a bottom row. And then above it are some of the like very basic wizarding texts. that you would guess that Blake sort of outgrew. Basically, those were like the lower level books.
So they look nearly identical to the primer that we're holding.
They're not quite that high of a level. This would have been things for like his very basic classes, books that are like Magic and You, the ABCs of Arcana. These are very, very basic. And you do see slightly more advanced books for like transmutation magic and for enchantment magic. Knowing what you know, there is a notable lack of evocation text. There's like the most basic, like, this is my firebolt. There are many like it, but this one is mine. You know, it's like the most basic 101 sort of text. And then it doesn't continue. Like the books are sort of organized by difficulty, and the section of transmutation and enchantment keeps going, and the evocation stops. You do notice there's not really much in the cabinets or the fridge. Not nothing though. It's more than someone who was totally absent would have, because you would imagine you'd have a basically empty fridge. It's the equivalent of like a little bit of like takeout and condiments and like a water pitcher that's 2/3 full and things like that. What else would you find on that check? Yeah, it'd be laying around. There's some mail. It looks like it was dumped in like a bundle, like someone going and retrieving like several months worth of mail all at once. But on the very top of the pile, one thing that catches your notice is what looks like an invoice, like an opened package, and it's labeled with like a logo from a local storage company.
Okay. Take a picture of it.
Do you want to like actually pull it out and see?
Yeah.
Is that a federal crime in this fake world?
I mean, probably.
Wait, what did Rachel say? Rachel, what did you say?
If it was a federal crime to tamper with the mail.
Like it is here.
Yeah, it's open already.
I mean, more immediately, you are breaking and entering.
It's true.
So you find an invoice for a section of, it's like a self-storage unit. And it looks like he's rented a section of a large, almost like a warehouse space. Not like the whole thing, but just like basically like a corner of it. I don't know how that would translate to like invoice speak, but that's what you gather.
I was honestly just getting an address of the storage space. So
and you do see an address that is pretty close, actually. It's just like a block or two away. Warwick in the red cap are watching cartoons.
So I'm gonna, I guess, just kind of like ask the room if they know, if they remember the last time they saw the human.
I like when they get hit with the hammers. A couple of days, maybe. Yeah, that sounds right.
pop my head into the bathroom and just make sure it's empty too.
Yeah. You do see like some basic toiletries in here. But again, it looks less lived in than you would expect for a place that people would live in. Like, there's not enough stuff here for a normal person. It's like a very incompetent Marie Kondo has gone through here and, really stripped this place down to the bolts.
Okay.
Do we think we got everything we need from in here?
I think so.
I make eye contact with the rest of the party, slap the back of my neck and wince in pain, and then head to the door.
All of the fey creatures in the room are just watching the TV.
I don't even notice you leave.
Like an anvil falls on someone, and the red cap just like, that's great.
Y'all enjoy your stories.
Are you going to shut the door behind you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Later,
Mage hand.
Yeah.
later on The Bachelor, they're like, "This is the best."
I will also twist the lock on the inside so that it locks behind us.
All right. So I'm guessing, is there anything else y'all want to do before we wrap up this session?
Nah, I think that's good.
All right. I definitely had that as a combat encounter, but that was way more fun. Oh,
I thought it might have been a combat encounter, and I was just looking at all my spells going, we're in an apartment block.
yeah.
I only do fire.
That was definitely going to come up for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.